wanted him to Hi guys, so welcome back to my channel. So today's video is going to be a video about me talking about my experience, my relationship, my marriage, and what has led us to come to a divorce. So with that being said, let's get started. So when I first started dating my husband, we were both really young. We were both 14, 15 years old. So my husband was actually my only long relationship that lasted 10 years. Well, now that I think about it, I'm like, oh my God, like that was a long time. We kind of like grew up together. We never knew what it was not to be together because we didn't get to experience what was out there. We didn't really get to experience, you know, the going out, the having fun, the meeting people, the having boyfriends, the breakups. Me personally, I never got to experience that. So when all of a sudden you don't know what's going on, and all of a sudden I just kind of found myself making the hardest decision. It was a lot. Sometimes I sit down and I think about everything that happened to see where I am right now. I'm like, oh my God, like I never thought that I could actually have the courage to sit down in front of a camera to actually talk about it. I thought that I was never, ever gonna get over it. You know, at that time I had never heard people go through similar situations, so I really didn't know what to expect. For me, it was kind of like the end of the world. I felt stuck, even though I did have a good job, even though I knew I was able to, be okay and do well by myself. I still felt like I was missing a part of me. You know, so I'm going to take it back a little bit back so you guys could kind of understand. We started dating back in 2005. We dated for 2 years. 2007 is when we moved in together. We started living together. In 2011 is when we actually decided to get married. We lived with his family for about a year. Then we moved in with my parents. At that time, I was only getting paid not so much. I was working at a bakery. He had a part-time job. He used to work at night. We barely used to see each other. We barely used to spend time with each other. So every time when the weekends would come, we were enjoying being with each other for the simple fact that we didn't get to spend enough time together. So there was rare arguments. There was barely any fighting. We lived with my parents for like about a year and a half. I want to say 2 years, maybe 3, maybe even 3. I don't know. I really lost count because I feel like I come from a family where I'm family oriented. My family's always together. My family is the type that if you're in a problem, we're all gonna come down there for you and we're all gonna solve this problem together. That's the kind of family that I have. So I got really comfortable living here at home. I think it was from both sides. I also didn't like to feel lonely just because, you know, he used to work at night. So I used to like being surrounded by my mom, by my father, by my sisters. It was until I think me mentally, I was growing up and I was like, oh my God, like we're literally living with my parents. It wasn't until that moment where I decided to go back to school I used to go to school from 9, no, I'm sorry, I used to go to school from 5 to 11, and I used to work overnight. I used to work from midnight till 7 o'clock in the morning. So I went throughout that whole 2 years that I went to school. He used to work at night, and I used to work. I used to go to school in the afternoon and then go to work right after. He was very supportive for that. Right after I graduated school, I got a job. We both wanted to move out, and being that we both were too comfortable living with my parents, I think for him it was a big change, and my mind was already somewhere else. I think I was already envisioning me and us having more than what we already had. Always surrounded by people and couples that wanted more. I used to see my cousins, and I used to see, at that time I used to see my brother-in-law, my sister-in-law, travel the world and have their own apartment, and I used to see that, and I wanted that. So at this point, I was like, for us, I wanted us to have a better life, and I wanted us to do better things and to grow together. Being that when me and him got together at such a young age, we didn't have anything. We used to have an old TV. We used to sleep on an air mattress. We used to have nothing, basically. I remember when we first got our first plasma TV, we had to ask one of my uncles if he was able to purchase it for us, and we would pay off his credit card monthly. So that's how we started. We didn't have nothing. There was moments where we used to eat. He used to use his school Metro card to go to Canal Street and purchase $2 Chinese food. And we used to, at that moment, like, we didn't used to care. Like, so I motivated him to go ahead and take out his license. My father was willing to buy us a car at that time. Well, buy him a car at that time. So I said, you know what? I'm like, go get your permit, your license. Let's get a car. Let's do it. So he went. He took his permit. He passed it. Took his license. He passed it. And I felt really, really happy. I felt like we were both always motivating each other. I felt like we were both always having each other's back. We knew each other just very well. So at that moment, we ended up purchasing our first car, and to me it was such a good feeling. To me it was like, oh my God, like we finally have something. Like, coming from eating $2 Chinese food, sleeping on an airbed, to finally own something that you could basically say we got on our own, was like fulfilling for me. That motivated me even more to do so much better. Yeah. So one day I reached out to a real estate lady, and I was like, first apartment that we viewed was a really, really nice apartment. I was super excited, but because I guess they saw us super young and they didn't give it to us. So he was like, good where we are right now. Like, why are we gonna leave? Why are we gonna move out? And he was just comfortable, and I couldn't see myself being comfortable. I couldn't see myself living there. I wanted my own home. I wanted my own place. I just wanted my own space more than anything. So she showed us another apartment, which was pretty far from the train station. But when we both saw it, we just fell in love with it. I'm like, this is it. Again, like any relationship, it wasn't all exciting. But when I don't mention the arguing parts, it's because we really never used to argue. It was, small arguments, small disagreements, but it was never arguments like, okay, that's it, we're gonna split up. So we moved into this apartment, and I think we both felt really, really excited. We both felt like we made something out of, when we had nothing. I felt super, super excited. I remember the times where I wanted the things I had at that time. We had a home, we had a car. Then we started traveling together. And this is something that, this is the kind of lifestyle that I wanted. Like, I don't think I was ever selfish. I don't think we were both ever selfish. I think I could only speak for my part. I always thought about us as the family. I never, everything that I ever did, everything that I ever did, I always felt like it was for both of us. I never thought about there was myself. A lot going on. We had our good moments, and as much as I talk about all these great things that were happening in our lives, there was certain occasions where I would, like, catch him talking to somebody else. There was occasions where I would catch certain things. I was always surrounded by a lot of female cousins, and I used to see their marriages, and I was like, you know what, like, I don't want my marriage to be like this. I used to pick up the good and the bad from every person that used to surround me. Um, I used to always say, you know what, I want to give this person freedom. I want to give us our space and be comfortable enough with having our own space. But there, unfortunately, the people that do take advantage of that. Unfortunately, there is people that take advantage of the good heart that you have. That time I was very insecure. I was very angry, and I was very upset. I knew that I deserved more than what I was allowing. I was literally scared to be without this person because that's all I knew. All that's all I knew, basically. I met him when we were 14 years old. At this point, I was already in my 20s. So did I really want to let go of him? No, I didn't. I used to be scared, so I used to forgive him. And I always used to lie to myself and say, you know what, this person is going to change. When in reality, this person was never going to change because this is who they are. I'm not also going to sit here and I'm not going to say I was perfect, because I wasn't perfect. But I think that this is the consequences of when you are together with someone so young. We both never had the chance to experience what was out there. So when you're stuck with somebody for all these years, and of course there's going to be moments that you want to see what's out there. But when that's the only thing you know in life, it's scary. It's scary to want to let go. There was cheating involved, and a lot of people define cheating differently. To me, cheating means if you reach out to a person, to me, that's already, I consider it as cheating. And I think a lot of people, men or women, allow these things. And I think with the hope of the people are going to change. I felt like if I forgave him plenty of times, I felt that he was eventually going to change. I wanted him to. I just think that deep inside, I just wanted for him to realize that everything I had ever done was for him. When in reality, now that I think about it, and now that the years, because I was so stuck on that, I forgot how to love myself. I forgot how to. I didn't know what was to put myself first. I literally felt that if that person didn't love me, like, that's it. My world was over. I was already tired of the constant cheating. I was already tired of the lying, and I was tired of the I was tired of me basically putting up with so much, and it wasn't like these conversations weren't ever discussed. These conversations were often discussed. Um, I would always be the one to want to talk about things. I would always be the one to sit at the table and say, you know what, is there something that's bothering you? Is there something that you think we should work on? You know, and better instead of me being the bigger person and walking away, I was basically doing the same thing he was doing. I I found someone, and I got caught up in the moment. I got caught up someone else giving me that attention that I wasn't getting from my partner, and it got to a moment where we both knew that it was done, and I didn't know how to fix it from there. I think we just both got to the point where we never, I think we both just got to the point where we never forgave each other. And it became super toxic. It's a really tough moments. And I think the last straw to this whole 10-year roller coaster was when he cheated. He did. I'm not gonna get into details about that, but it was one of the most hardest hardest times of my life. It was. I was 26. I was 26 years old. I did a whole timeline from the moment that I was 14 years old till I was 26. It was a lot. It was a lot, and I felt like it was the hardest decision I ever had to make. I I remember I was like, oh my god, like if this is not your chance, I'm like, it's either you do something about it now, or you're gonna suck it up, and you're gonna keep on thinking that this person's gonna change. And I remember calling a few people, 3 o'clock in the morning on a Sunday. It was Monday already. I remember calling a few people, and everybody, I was getting, and basically I was getting the same response from everybody. Like, go home, think about it, think about what you're gonna do. Don't make a decision based on your emotions right now. And I went upstairs to my house, and I was like, you know what? I had enough. I'm like, I had enough. So, asked this person to leave. When deep inside, I really wanted this person to tell me, I don't want to go and I want to save this. That's what I was thinking. I was like, I'm going to go to work, but when I come back, I don't want you here no more. I couldn't even function at work because all I did was cry and cry and cry at work. And I got home, and this person wasn't there anymore. The next morning, because I was so used to waking up at 5 o'clock in the morning when he used to arrive, I remember I woke up and I was like, okay, like he's not coming. And it wasn't until then when I think it hit. It was like, oh God, like this person's really not coming. So I rearranged my whole apartment at that time, and the days went by, and I wasn't caring about anything else. Um I became a total different person. I I had a friend that was going through a similar thing like me, and we both started drinking. I wasn't focused on work. I wasn't focused on anything. My family will want to come. Like, my family didn't find out till I think like 2 days later. I didn't want to tell anybody. I just wanted to be alone. I just wanted. I don't know what I wanted at this point. When you're upset and this person knows how to get you, and you kind of like lower yourself to this person's standards, and you kind of want this person to realize that this person made the biggest mistake in the world, and you often want to do the same things this person do to you so they could feel how you feel. Well, I think that was me. I I would do certain things. A lot of people got to see that side. It was certain people. Like, to the world, I faked that I was fine. To the world, I would go out, have fun, get drunk, enjoy my life. But to the people that were the closest to me, knew how hard it was for me. Like, I was always the type of person to motivate myself and motivate others. I was always wanting to be more than I was. Well, that was gone. I didn't want to work. I used to go to work and I didn't care about nothing. I used to sit there and cry and cry and cry. And I used to go home, get drunk every night. I stopped eating. Um, my house, my house would be, my house became the drinking spot because it was a form of me to get drunk. I technically didn't know how to put my life together. This person knew basically that I always had a weak spot for this person, and this person knew what to say, how to say things in order for me to come back and be. I didn't care about me. I didn't care about anything. All I cared about was I had nothing. I had no ambition. I had no ambition for life. I had nothing. I seeked for a therapist, and the therapist used to talk to me, and it used to literally come in through here and come out through the other ear because I didn't used to care. And I used to do the total opposite. I used to look for him. I used to text him. I used to get drunk. I used to call him. It was until one day where I got super, super drunk and I texted this person, I don't want to live no more. So when you get drunk, super drunk, and then the next day you wake up feeling worse, well, that was me. Um, I woke up and I read my messages and I was like, oh God, I mean, you have a problem. Once I read that one message, I didn't care about anything else but that one message that I read. And when I read that message, I was like, oh God, I'm like, this is not you. Like, you literally losing yourself. I reached out to my mother and I told my mom, Mom, I have a problem. I'm like, I wasn't drinking no more to have fun, to enjoy myself. I was drinking to get blacked out and not remember anything. 10 years being with somebody is definitely not easy. It's not something that you can say, you know what, the next day I'm going to wake up and I'm going to forget about this person. It's something really, really hard. And I would ask people, well, when is it going to get better? And people will often tell me, you know what, it's going to take time. And I'm like, time? I used to hate that word. I used to hate when people used to tell me time. I used to hate people telling me time because I didn't get what time meant. I wanted me to feel better right then and there. And it wasn't happening. And it wasn't happening because I was still stuck. Still wanted to prove someone that I was good enough. But I was forgetting that I didn't have to prove that one someone. I had to prove myself that I was good enough for me, you know? So it took time. Now it's gonna be it's going on 4 years now, and I can't even remember when I stopped loving this person. I thought honestly that this day was never gonna come. I thought that I was always gonna be sad for the rest of my life. I thought that I was never gonna be better. I thought that I was gonna cry for years and years and years. All I ever wanted, and I said it to myself, I'm like, I can't wait the for the day that I am finally doing so much better, sitting somewhere on the beach and saying to myself, you know what? I did it. It wasn't thanks to that event that happened in my life. I would have never traveled. I would have never moved on. I would have never learned how to love myself. I would have never done everything that I'm doing right now because I don't do it for nobody else. I'm doing it for myself. I no longer care what people have to say and think about me because I've learned that I come first. If you can't accept that and if you can accept that I'm going to be putting myself first, and if you're not going to be able to love me the way I love me, then you can't. You don't fit in my life anymore. Now I look at people and I give certain advice to people, and I can never say to people, you know what, walk out, because I know what it feels like. I know what it is, and I don't ever wish it to anybody. I don't ever wish somebody to go through what I went through because it's the worst, especially when you feel like the person that you think will never betrayed you, and the way they betrayed you, then you learn that, and that's when you learn that nobody's ever gonna have your back the way you will have your own back. That nobody's gonna ever love you the way you love yourself. And I had to learn that the hard way. Thankfully, I everything I do now, I think about me first. I don't put I don't put people's feelings before mine. If it's not my mother's and it's not my father's, whatever you think doesn't matter to me because I'm at a different stage right now. You know, I never in a million years I thought that I was gonna be able to sit down and speak about this. Never in a million years I thought that I was gonna be doing what I was doing. I knew I deserved better, but I think you hit a certain point in your life where it's okay for you to be picky. A lot of people ask me, when are you ever gonna get into a relationship? And a lot of people ask me, when are you gonna have kids? You know what? I waited so long to have kids. I waited so long to be in a relationship. The day I have kids and the day I get into a relationship, I want it to be worth it. Is it easy for me to pick up anyone from the street to have kids and to be in a relationship? Yes. It's easy. It's super easy. But is it easy finding the right man for you and finding the man that's going to value you and is going to love you and is going to respect you no matter what? I would rather wait 100 years for that person. Basically, all I want to say to you guys is that a lot of times we often accept certain things in our lives when we know that we should walk away. And I think us as women, we know we need to go walk away because it's not healthy and it's not okay for us to be treated a certain way. And I think that most of us stay there I think most of us stay in that toxic relationship out of fear because of what if or what are people going to say. And these are things that often went through my head when I was going through this. I used to think about like, oh my God, what are people going to say? We have events coming up. I used to always try to find the ifs, like, we have an event coming up. Like, what am I going to tell people? What are people going to say? How am I going to explain myself to people? I often try to avoid people to ask me because I didn't know what to say. And but that shouldn't be that shouldn't stop you from moving on, knowing that this relationship is no good for you. People just used to tell me believe in God and trust God, and things are gonna work out for you, and things are gonna get so much better for you. And once you get at the top, you're not gonna remember how it felt like being all the way down here. And if somebody would have told me, like, Jesse, you're gonna live the life you're living right now, I would have been a little bit more optimistic, and I would have probably let go a little bit sooner. People ask me, um, how do you go through all this, or how has life changed for you, or what has worked for you? Um, I think it's all mental. Honestly, I think that you always have to thank God, and you always have to pray, and you just have to let time guide you. Oftentimes, we try to change destiny on our own. Oftentimes, we want to grab our lives and place them where we think our life should be, but life doesn't work like that. You just should let life go. Learn how to love yourself. Learn how to value yourself. Um, for a lot of people that do ask, I don't hate this person. I can never hate this person. I I can never I can never speak bad about this person because this is the person that I married at the time because I loved him, and to do is just thank him because if it wasn't for everything that we both lived through, if it wasn't for everything that happened to me, I would have loved to do things differently. Of course, I would have. I would have loved to walk away probably sooner. I would have, because now I'm 30 years old and I'm like, God, I just spent, God, like I gave this person all my 20s, like, and I have to start all over. Now I'm 30, so now sometimes I often feel like I have to rush things a little bit, but then things are gonna fall into place eventually, and things are gonna happen the way and when they're supposed to happen. And as you guys know, right now I am creating my own eyelash brand. I am super thankful. Thank you to you guys who have been sending me messages. Thank you to the people who have been very supportive. And you guys literally give me life. Like more, I would have loved to discuss. I just feel like it's a lot of life events. 10 years plus 4 years trying to self-love myself. To fit, there's a lot to fit into this small little clip of video because trust me, I could talk for hours, years, and days. But thank you very much, guys, for listening. Thank you for all your support. Thank you to all those people who have been there for me. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. There's no words on how grateful and how thankful I am. So with that being said, I'll see you in my next video.